Now, dear listeners, we have an announcement. This podcast began, as many others did, as something to do during a very strange time in history. With uncertainty and boredom abound, we were all looking for something, anything, to distract ourselves and maybe accidentally entertain some others along the way. Its central ethos, the idea behind the show, was to get Iain here to read more comics, and over the past 2 years he's certainly done that. Iain has now read hundreds of comic books, including some of my absolute favourites, some all-time classics, and some absolute wank. In these 2 areas at least, we feel we have now accomplished what we set out to do with the podcast, and with the world approaching what approaches normality in this day and age, it's time for us to hang our mission accomplished banner and draw a line under the first chapter in the Become the Teapot saga.
But this isn't our grand finale, more like the end of our first season, as we would like to continue our Become the Teapot journey in one format or another. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for what's soon to be future projects.
So, with that said and done, I'll ask you a question, Iain, that I've not asked you before. Now that I'm not setting you your homework, what are you going to read next?
Funny enough, I've actually already started a comic, not for the podcast. As I texted you the other day, I was sat in a pub reading a comic, and I've started reading Justice League Dark. I own Volume 1 and 2. To be honest, they've been on my shelf for quite some time. So off the back of our Constantine episode, I thought now's a better time than any. Start reading it.
Yeah, I have read some of those. They're good.
But comic continuing from the podcast, you won't be surprised as it made my top 3. But why The Last Man? I have been given Volume 2, so I've got that on my shelf and poised and ready to read that. And I think that will be my next collection of books that I will pick up as time continues.
Yeah.
I'm very, very intrigued to see where that goes. I'm kind of glad the show got cancelled in a weird way because I can read it and learn where the story goes on my own.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing a show and then reading it. Talking about seeing a show and then reading it, Umbrella Academy. I am very, very intrigued to read this. It's something that I think is very unique in its own storytelling and the artwork. It's something that you've said before, each season appears to pinch from the next book. So I've got a rough idea where it's going. And that one as well, they're very, very short. The 4th volume's just come out or coming out soon?
It's coming out soon, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that one I can probably catch up with before it's already out, which is good. And over the last couple of years, I've realised that Jeff Johns is one of my favourite writers, apparently. So I'll be continuing some of his work. This one may surprise you. I hated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. However, I was quite fond of the IDW run. Yeah. So that's something that I might hopefully continue. We've read plenty of Batman over the years. So I've got things on my shelf that I've had there for years, like Death in the Family, Joker, Batman/Flash the Button. They're just comics that I've collected over the years that I've gone, oh, I'll definitely read that. And I haven't.
Yes.
So I think you've reignited the spark of my love for comics that I had when I was younger, and I've now got a reason to continue and to pick up future books.
I'm really glad to hear that. Well, in that case, I would say that we have done what we set out to do. As always, thank you, Iain, and thank you to all of our guests we've had on the show. And an enormous thank you very much to each and every one of you who have tuned in to listen to us prattle on over the last 2 years. This episode, and indeed all of our episodes, are dedicated to you, our very small but seemingly very loyal listeners. So, for one last time, goodbye, and thank you for listening to Become the Teapot. I was Iain.
And so was I.
And there it is. His stop.